And we are live. Did I hit the dock?
You did. You hit the dock. Hello, everybody. We have live video now. All right.
Full
Should
house.
we do some roll call, Steve?
We shall. You shall.
All right. We've got Kevin and Jason and Frank and Jill and John and Mike and Sandy and Michael. And let's see who's in the sidebar down here. We got Rose. Let's see. Anybody else coming in? Looks like we got a Titan bot. Oh, Kiwi Spoon is in here somewhere.
Who is Steven?
Anyone else? That's Steven. That's right.
Right.
That's what you always remember Kiwi Spoon's name, right?
Yeah, you didn't call me. Good catch, wingman. You didn't mention me.
And Steve.
Steve rolls up the rear. So Frank said he thought he might make it, but I don't see him. It wasn't a firm commitment, but we'll see. He'll come in late and have to buy the beer.
If I get my work done early, I can talk to you about why I have all of these dongles out on my desk.
Dongle City.
This is now not all of these got used, but I tried to use all of them, so we'll see.
Oh, let's switch our should we switch our audio over to Mimo?
Yes. So I'm on Mimo now. You guys
as am I.
You guys wouldn't notice. Oh, now you're a little quieter, but that's okay.
You can adjust in sound source. I did it.
Yeah. I can't make you quieter though.
No one can.
Oh, I guess I did. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I had you turned down in Mimo Live. You must have been yelling last week. Talk to me.
I turned my volume down this week prior to the show just to ward off that whole problem area.
Good. All right, let me do a recording into Hindenburg and make sure we have audio playback. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Go back. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
Sounded good to me.
Ooh,
Except
resilience. He just, Mike Price just said resilience equals what? Stand up and show him the equation.
This. In all its glory. So, little history. A good friend of ours, Ron, he's an engineer, a friend, a longtime buddy. We go way back. And he is actually a electronics spacecraft engineer, designs sensors and other things for spacecraft. And he's kind of moved on to a new area called resilience, which is the ability of a spacecraft to withstand human and environmental assaults and recover from them. So it's a way to quantify how well a system can do that. That's what. And he wrote a book. He actually wrote a book on it.
Well, you could also turn around. The book is on the back of his shirt. We have these shirts made for him.
He wrote this book called Resilient Space Systems Design, got published. So we made him these shirts, which, can you see this?
Yep, good job.
We made him these shirts to celebrate his first book. It was fun.
So, Steve, I think while I'm recording, you should do a get a
book
Amazon
review?
link to. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I should do that. Amazon link to resilience. We'll do that.
All right, I'm going to mute Steve. That'll keep him busy, so I can record now. All right, here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, January 3rd, 2021, and this is show number 817. Well, actually, I should have been more excited about 2021. I'm going to do that again. I just read it like it was any other year. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, January 3rd, 2021, and this is show number 817. With another year successfully buttoned up, we're going to start out 2021 with what I think is going to be a great show, but you know what? I'm biased. I think every week is a great show. But before I dig in, I want to plug the last two episodes of Bart's 2 podcast that he does on his own. I've talked to you about him before, but his last two were just really, really good. On Let's Talk Apple, his monthly review of Apple news, he had Ken Ray, also known as macOS Ken, on the show, and it was a delightful conversation between the two of them. Now, obviously, Bart is knowledgeable about his own subject, but Ken is equally knowledgeable on this subject, so it made for some interesting discussion, and I really, really enjoyed it. On Bart's photography show, Let's Talk Photography, he did a solo show where he discussed the 12 things that have advanced over the years to take phone cameras from absolute jokes to real cameras. He was inspired to do this episode because he discovered that in 2020, he did not take a single photo with his big boy camera, at least a photo that he kept. Part of that was caused by 2020, obviously, but he believes it still would not have been in double digits of saved photos if he'd been able to travel about. You can find both of these episodes at lets-talk.ie or look for Let's Talk Apple and Let's Talk Photography in your podcatcher of choice. So I could do before I dig in, I think I'll do a chapter mark just to grab the Let's Talk Photography. What is I gonna do? To his website. Copy link. That'll do it. And I'll go ahead and rename it. I can hear you typing, Steve. Why aren't you talking?
Isn't that cool? I'm having trouble finding Ron's book.
What?
Yeah.
I had trouble finding it the last time I was looking for it, too. Ooh,
That's
should
not
save,
right.
Huh?
We need a little SEO
Recording
here.
is much louder.
It is a little louder. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to make that not be louder. Do I have control over that, Steve?
The recording volume that you play, that we hear. Yeah, you should through
probably in
loopback.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hindenburg. I'm going to turn it to 50%, so just as an experiment, see if it sounds a lot different. Did a solo show where he discussed the 12 things that have advanced over the years to. Did that
sounds
it?
closer to your actual speaking volume. Yeah.
All right. Remind me where I found that. That was in YouTube.
All right.
Or in Loopback.
What have I done with the chat room? It's all messed up here. It's too wide. I'm missing people. Here we go. Let's squeeze her down a little. There we go.
All right. I'm going to copy link. Copy. And I got a chapter mark for that. And then...
I missed the copy link.
Yep, you did.
Oh, I'm slow. Wait, do you have an empty chapter? Oh, I've asked about that before.
Ooh. It failed. Mike!
Uh-oh. Try it again. Delete and
Mike?
Start over.
Mike, you're fired. Mike and I did a recording for Chit Chat about his learning about... I can't think of do two things at one time. Keyboard Maestro. It will air next week, though. All right, so what happened here? I was right here. I was here. And I mashed down all the keys. And
The technical term?
Let me scroll this up so you can see what I grabbed. And I did a copy link. And it made the second noise. I did a copy. And that time it worked.
That looks... You must not have mashed down all the keys properly.
I must not have mashed appropriately. All right, you're not fired then. I knew he was worried, right?
He said he isn't allowed to have a bug, so...
That's right. All right, recording, muting Steve. Here we go. Why are you not starting? This week on Chit Chat Across the Pond, it was Bart back with Programming by Stealth, installment 109. We continue our mini-series within a series learning the version control system Git. We learned two methods to enhance our branching strategy. First, we will walk through some basic principles on how to number our released versions of our code. From there, we'll explore three types of changes that would cause a change in our release versions: fixes, new features, and breaking changes. That sounds as exciting as it is. Anyway, each of these types of updates to the version of our code can be articulated with something called semantic versioning, also known as semver. This numbering convention informs users of our code on the meaning of each release. Finally, we marry these concepts by creating meaningful commit messages using another convention called conventional commits. Not only can a user of our code see at a glance what happens in a specific commit, documentation can also be auto-formatted that explains these commits. Now, there's not a lot of hands-on in this particular lesson, but as a structured kind of a person, I really appreciate these conventions and why they're important. So go look for Programming by Stealth in your podcatcher of choice and look for episode PBS 109.
Okay, I found the link. I'm going to put our buddy Ron's Space Systems Resilience book in. For those of you that want to go out and buy this thing, it's not cheap. It's a technical book, so it comes at a little hefty price.
Wait,
it may not apply to all of them. I'm not talking it down. I'm just saying that I want to set expectations appropriately. It is a technical book. It's not your page turner.
What do you mean it's not your page turner?
It's one you study and you deliberate and you maybe take notes and you use it while you're designing a spacecraft, that kind of thing.
Fine. I think it's a page turner. I didn't read it. But you read a lot of it, right?
Yeah. I actually reviewed a lot of it before it got published.
Okay. I am going way back.
It's not a bodice ripper, no.
What's that?
It's not a bodice ripper, is John's comment.
I don't know what that word even means.
You know what a bodice is. It's like the undergarment that they wore in the 1800s.
What are you people talking about?
Isn't it? Maybe I'm wrong here.
I don't.
Romance book. That's another name for it.
Okay. You too. Making no sense over here. Speaking of bodice rippers, I could look at that main character for hours. Oh, no, Bridgerton. Maybe I need to check that out, Sandy. All right, I got to mute Steve so he stops talking about women's underwear. You know I'm a big fan of taking screenshots, and if I can find an excuse to annotate a screenshot, I am even happier. I have lots of tools to do this, and if I'm doing lots of annotations, I bring out the big guns like Folge or Captio. But if I want to do a quick screenshot, my go-to is still the built-in screenshot utility in macOS. I've also gotten quite fond of doing annotations using Preview. Even if you've been on the Mac a very long time, I'm betting I can tell you a few things you may not know about these two built-in tools. Let's start with the built-in screenshot utility in macOS. This utility is in your Applications folder, but it's one level deeper in the Utilities folder. It is named, quite imaginatively, Screenshot. You can double-click it from the Finder, drag it into your dock to launch, use Spotlight to launch it, or you can invoke it with the keystroke Command-Shift-5. Now, we're going to be learning some more keystrokes in a bit, but let's focus on the utility itself first. No matter how you invoke Screenshot, when it opens, it's not really an app. You'll see a dotted marquee rectangle overlaying whatever's on screen, and you'll see some buttons below the rectangle. But if you look at your menu bar, it doesn't say Screenshot. It says the name of the forefront application that's on your screen. Now, Screenshot is actually super capable. The left three buttons are to capture screenshots. You can do a full screen, a window, or an area, which is the default with the marquee. The next two buttons are for video, allowing video or full screen, or an area, again with the marquee. Next, you've got some options that are pretty important because they affect how screenshots work, even if you don't invoke them using the utility directly. The first option is where to save screenshots. By default, it'll choose the desktop, which is, I think, a terrible place to put screenshots. Leaving screenshots on your desktop is just inviting you to be messy and disorganized. The Save To menu also lets you choose an alternate location, but you can also choose to have screenshots automatically go right to an application such as Mail, Messages, or Preview. Personally, I like to have them open in Preview so I can make sure they look right and add annotations if required. If you're recording video, one of the options will be to open your masterpiece in QuickTime when you're done. I can save the file if I really need it for later, but after annotating, I often hit Command-A to select all, then Command-C to copy, and then Command-V into an application such as Mail or Telegram or Slack. Then I hit Command-W to close the screenshot, at which point it will nag me to save, but a simple Command-Delete will hit the delete button for me. Of course, you can do all of this via the menus, but I prefer the speed of keystrokes. If you ever need to capture a drop-down menu or some other ephemeral effect, The options menu in Screenshot will even let you set a countdown timer for 5 or 10 seconds. If you've set your options to save your screenshots to a file, by default, the Screenshot application will leave, I should call it utility because it's not an application. By default, it will leave a floating thumbnail in the bottom right of your window. I've always found that to be supremely annoying because you have to wait for about 5 seconds for it to disappear. In the options menu, you can toggle off that floating thumbnail. So if it's been bothering you, you can get rid of it. But don't be too hasty to be annoyed. As I was studying this utility to write it up, I realized that perhaps it has some value. I described in detail how I like to annotate in Preview and then copy and paste from Preview, and maybe that's not the most efficient way to do all those operations. Let's explore how the floating thumbnail might be helpful. If you don't need to deal with the screenshot right away, you can ignore the floating thumbnail and capture more images. You don't actually have to wait for it to go away. You can do screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. You don't have to wait for it. But if you do want to annotate the screenshot, you can click on the floating thumbnail and it comes up in what I can only call Preview Lite. It's not really Preview because there's no app running, but it has many of the same markup tools across the top. I say many of the same because it's got one that's even better than Preview, and this is going to blow your mind. It blew my mind. One of the buttons looks like a little pen tip inside of a circle with a wee tiny, like 10 pixel across arrow to the right. If you're still on Catalina, it'll be a rectangle with a diagonal line in the bottom right. It doesn't work as consistently on Catalina either. It works better on Big Sur. Next to the icon is a downward chevron. That chevron reveals your iOS devices that are on the same network. Curiously, I saw my devices and I selected my iPad mini, which I call Mini Me, and the screenshot jumped instantly to my iPad mini. I used my Logitech crayon to draw on the screen on the iPad mini, and the annotation updated on my Mac. At the same time, like I'm drawing on the iPad, it's showing up on the Mac. How crazy is that? I'm sure that's part of, continuity or handoff or one of those things. But wait, it gets cooler. Once you tap this magical icon the first time, the next time you take a screenshot with your Mac and select the floating thumbnail, it automatically jumps to your iOS device for annotation. It just does it. It will even wake up your device if it's asleep and locked. When you tap done on the iOS device, the screenshot disappears and the iOS device is still in its locked state. It's just like it's a little drawing pad attachment attached to your Mac. Now, I am no longer going to complain about the floating thumbnail because this absolutely rocks. It's way easier to annotate with a pencil or crayon on an iPad than it is with a trackpad or mouse on a Mac. Not sure I would use an iPhone for this, but iPads are perfect as touchscreen drawing attachments for your Mac. Now that I'm in love with the floating thumbnail, we should finish up the explanation. Let's say you take a screenshot, tap the floating thumbnail, and realize that's not exactly what you wanted. Hit the escape key, and that floating thumbnail and that entire screenshot simply disappears and doesn't get saved to your desktop. You can use the close button or the delete button if you'd rather not hit escape. The important thing is that it doesn't save the file at all, so this is way better than my method of taking the screenshot straight into Preview. After all of this excitement with the floating thumbnail, the last two options in Screenshot seem kind of like a letdown. You can have Screenshot remember your last selection, which can be handy if you're screenshotting the same area repeatedly. Most of the time, I think we take screenshots of all different parts of the screen, and moving and resizing that remembered area is kind of tedious to me. If you uncheck Remember Last Selection, then you'll get to do a simple click-drag to take your screenshots. Finally, you can choose whether or not to show the mouse pointer in your screenshot. Sometimes that's exactly what you do want, and sometimes it's exactly what you don't want. So it's nice to have the option. I mentioned at the beginning of this tale of adventure that you can use Command-Shift-5 to invoke the screenshot utility. You can also invoke the different kinds of screenshots with keystrokes. Unfortunately, since Screenshot isn't a real application, it doesn't have preferences for you to find those keystrokes. To find the keystrokes, you have to open System Preferences, Keyboard, select the Shortcuts tab, and then select Screenshots in the left sidebar. Yeah, that's the first place I thought to look too. Anyway, I did find it eventually. There are basically two types of screenshots, as we learned earlier: full screen and a selected portion. You're going to hold down Command-Shift and then add a number. So just remember Command-Shift as though that's one keystroke. So Command-Shift, and you're going to add a number to that. Full screenshots use the number 3, and selected portions use the number 4. So Command-Shift-3 for full screen, Command-Shift-4 for a partial screen. With these keystrokes, you'll be saving the shot to a file. Remember that if you have the delightful floating thumbnail, you can grab it and mess with it before it saves. But what if you just want to copy it to the clipboard? You don't want to actually create a file at all. You just add the Control key to the mix. So Command-Shift-3 becomes Command-Shift-Control-3 to do a full screenshot to the clipboard. Likewise, Command-Shift-4 becomes Command-Shift-Control-4 to do a partial screenshot and take it right to the clipboard. Now, I don't know that sounds like a lot of keys, but if you do it a few thousand times, you'll get good at it too. Also, how often do you really want the entire screen? Not that often, right? This means you'll only need to remember Command-Shift-4 and adding the Control key when you want to send it to the clipboard. Remember, with using the full utility, we have the option to capture a window? Well, we can do that even with keystrokes. If you start by using your partial window keystroke, Command-Shift-4, when you do this, you'll see a crosshair that lets you click and drag across an area to show what area you want screenshotted. But if you want an entire specific window, instead of clicking and dragging on the window when you see the crosshairs, hold down the Option key and the entire window you're hovering over will highlight. Then simply click on the window and your screenshot will be created. Now, Alistair Jenks gets the credit for the next screenshot tip. He stumbled across it right around the time I was writing this up, and he posted about it in our Slack, which you should join over at podfeed.com/Slack. When you take a screenshot of just part of the screen, using Command-Shift-4 to go to a file or adding Control to go to the clipboard, your screenshots will have a drop shadow applied to them. Now, I'm a huge fan of the drop shadow, but the one applied by macOS is huge. It's comically large and it wastes way too much space. There are 2 ways to keep from getting the giant drop shadow of doom. Trademark Donald Burr. Once you've done the keystroke dance and you've already hit the spacebar to highlight the window, before you click the window, hold the Option key and click. The resulting screenshot will not have a drop shadow. I don't know how he found that. But just in case anyone is still following along, that's Command-Shift-Control-4, spacebar, Option, click. Easy peasy, right? Believe it or not, I do this often enough that it's absolutely muscle memory. Now, if you don't want to try to remember the magical Option click at the end, or you're sure you hate the giant drop shadow as much as I do and never want to see it, open up the terminal and there's a defaults right command that I've put in the show notes that basically says defaults right, the screen capture tool disable shadow Boolean true. Then after that, you do have to restart the System UI server with the command kill all System UI server. Again, you can just copy and paste from the show notes. After that, you'll never need to see that giant drop shadow again. If you ever change your mind and you want it back, just rerun the defaults right command I put in the show notes with Boolean false instead of true. Now, I rewrote this particular article about 5 times because I kept learning new things, and in fact, the entire subject of the article changed. I've still got the previous idea ready, but it's going to end up being a tiny tip compared to what you learned in this one. I'm thrilled to find out that the floating thumbnail is super useful and will be annotating my little heart out with my iPads from now on. There we go. I think I made a mistake in there. Kevin R. Jones is
Kevin
in here.
joined us, yes, for the first time.
How are you?
So he was pointing out that Discord has become sort of accessible, not
Good,
entirely,
'cause
but enough that he
It's been
can.
terrible.
And we just kind of helped him find the live show. Listen, he had heard that you could listen on Discord, and he's here, so I assume he's hearing
Okay,
us
that
now.
is awesome.
Welcome,
That
Kevin.
is just awesome.
Too bad we didn't get to see you at CSUN this year. I wonder if did they have a virtual CSUN event?
No, CSUN we were almost there. They
That's
held
right.
CSUN. We
Oh, they
were
did.
like on the edge whether to go or not. Back and forth, weren't sure.
That was April, I think.
Yeah.
Early April. I wonder if Kevin went. Kevin, did you go to CSUN this year?
I think everybody whose company was paying them said no right around that time, and everybody was disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a mistake in there, but can't find it. Okay. All right. Now we are. Here we go. Okay, this is going to be fun. Jeff Butts didn't come in by any chance, did he?
Haven't seen him.
He is making his debut.
Cool.
Yeah. Yes?
I think Kevin has, big, let's call him Wingman, has a suggestion.
What would that be?
You're doing it now.
Oh,
Good
save
job.
and add chapter marks. Steve, the poet laureate, commands it.
Nice,
Kevin, who was it that came up with that? Somebody wrote in. Actually, it was I think it was one of the people
You texted.
who did a donation.
So we need to explain to Kevin Jones, the initial Kevin in this chat room and the big Kevin is big in Virginia. So that's the Kevin we all have become accustomed to. So if you hear us say Kevin, this is going to get confusing.
We probably mean him.
Yeah, maybe we should say Kevin Jones
Big.
and Kevin. Wingman is
Yeah.
Kevin. Kevin Jones is Kevin Jones.
Wingman or big.
OG Kevin.
OG
yes.
Kevin. That's
there
it.
you go. Perfect.
Perfect. Oh, that's so funny. All right, let me see how this sounds.
I don't hear it. I lost your audio, Al. We're back to that problem, whatever it is. Shoot. So I'm curious, in the chat room, can you hear Allison? Yeah, we lost everything then. She knows it, and she's working it. She's marking the time. This is so strange. So it's 26 minutes in, and it happens about this often that her sound all of a sudden. Yeah. So Kevin Jones, we don't allow talking in this channel because no one has talking privileges except Allison and me, and the reason is it just gets too difficult for her to produce the show when there's a lot more chatter going on. So it's just our two voices, but everyone can hear. So Allison is bringing up Hindenburg, or no, loopback. And she's trying to diagnose this sound problem. I thought last time, Allison, the problem was MIMO, and you had to flip a MIMO switch. You had to toggle something forward and back. No?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, there you go. What'd you do?
Yep, it worked. Yes.
What was it?
They let me document.
Take some
it.
notes. Take some notes.
I'm taking notes. Don't tell me to take notes. You always say
No,
you
I
always
was
say that, and you never take notes.
I was telling people you were taking notes. I wasn't telling you to take notes.
Okay, so they gave me a developer's edition of the application of
Loopback?
Audio Hijack
Okay.
and Loopback that they thought would fix the problem, but this it's complicated, but I've got it documented, and they wanted me to take 2 screenshots, so I just used what I was using. So, Steve, last time I tried toggling something in Mimo Live, and that did not fix it.
Okay.
What just fixed it was changing the sample rate of YouTube Live input, which is a virtual source created in Loopback.
Interesting. So is that sample rate getting toggled all by itself?
No, it's toggle it
And
and
how-
toggle it back.
how is
so
it
I can show you
working?
guys right here.
Let me blow it
So-
up.
So right here it says input. YouTube Live input is not an aggregate device. Here, let me. YouTube Live is this YTL input.
Virtual.
Is this virtual input that I've created that uses another virtual input called Al's mic. Now Al's mic never breaks, but YTL input is the one that breaks. This combines Al's mic and Hindenburg. But in this screenshot, you can see I was talking, but channels 1 and 2 weren't moving.
Yep.
And this is what he wanted a screenshot of to see. But if you looked at Al's mic, you can see the input is moving and the output channel is also moving. So that's good.
Okay.
But what I did, I toggled the wrong thing last week, was I needed to change my input from a YTL to YTL input, change the sample rate to 44.1 kilohertz and back to 48. And that toggled.
Oh, so it's a toggle, not a change in the setting.
Turn it off and
Got
turn it on again.
Got it.
Which was what David suggested.
David.
I need to save these screenshots. Dave Hamilton. Dave Hamilton has had the same exact problem.
Oh, he had? Okay. So
Yeah,
it's a
Dave
bug.
and I. Yeah, so let's see. This is save this, and these are words.
She is, Sandy, enthusiastic because this is the first time I think we've firmly
It's the
nailed
first
this
time we've
down
ever recovered.
and we have evidence. Yeah, we've had whole half shows, the latter half, be completely silent, as you well know.
Yeah.
The developers got to fix it, but we'll give them some data.
They think they know what it is, but they think it's a sorry, typing. But it's a bug that they have found in Mac OS, which is handy.
Those are harder to fix.
Yeah. Okay. The interesting thing is the first symptom I see, I knew it was happening, was I go over to Hindenburg and I can't hit play.
Oh, well, that's
how I
another
know
piece of
that it
information
breaks.
that might help.
I have given them that.
Piece of the puzzle.
Hindi wouldn't play.
All right.
Symptom. Okay. Well, let's see if I can play now.
Yeah, let's check that out.
It's input. Oh, it's part of YouTube Live.
John just put up a
I'm a
photo of
mime
a
now?
mime.
All right, let me see if this will play. Super useful. Yeah,
Yep.
I'll be annotating my little heart out with my iPads from
We
now
got it.
on.
I think you're.
Okay, I was trying to listen, Steve, to the different
Okay.
the timing on this. Annotating my little heart out with my iPads from now on. Too long. Okay, let me move that in a little bit. This is Jeff's written material was really good. I didn't have to work on his stuff at all. iPads from now on.
Hey everybody, Happy New Year. I'm Jeff Butts from the Mac Observer. I'm a guy that loves all things Apple, but I also love to tinker around with electronic gadgets. I'm talking about things like Arduino boards, Raspberry Pi, that sort of thing. Today I'm going to talk to you about the newest Raspberry Pi starter kit from CanaKit.
All right. Going to save there. He sounds a little low to me, but that'll all work out in the wash. This is going to be a long show, 24 minutes, and I need to do my review. All right, I'm going to say some nice things about Jeff.
Later, and have a great day.
Wow, Jeff, I cannot believe that that's your first audio review for us. That was fantastic. I really want to buy these things. I think I'm going to quote Casey Liss from the Accidental Tech podcast. He was on Clockwise, and he said, now that I'm into Raspberry Pis, it's like I have a hammer and I need to go find nails to nail with it because he has so much fun with them. So that is really tempting, and it's cool to hear about such a slick one with such a good looking interface. But anyway, I do have one. I have played with it, not the exact model of Raspberry Pi that you're talking about, and it really was fun. So anyway, that was great, and I hope you will come back and do more of these for us, Jeff. Okay, they can't hear me, huh?
Yeah. So all this time,
okay,
we thought we fixed it.
All this time that we were describing the solution?
Yes.
Oh man. Okay.
Sorry, folks on Discord. We thought
You're
so.
supposed to be watching them.
It fixed the problem on
Steve.
YouTube.
Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, they can't. Sorry, they can.
They can't hear you. They cannot hear you. So when you fix the problem, it fixed it for you, for me. Well, it fixed it for you on YouTube and podfeed.com/live, but not Discord.
Can you hear me now? In Discord,
Yes.
I bet you can. Okay.
Yes.
And can you hear me now?
No.
Toggle it off and on again. Can they hear me now?
Yes.
Still hear me. Somebody write, I still hear you.
Yes, I hear you. I can hear the two now.
Okay. All right. Shoot, we thought you had heard the whole solution.
All that time. Sorry, folks. So I'm not following what happened there in terms of
I
making the
just had
fix.
to switch away from the mic input and back.
But is that different than the other fix that got your audio back at all?
Yeah, this is just changing the mic input. And don't worry about this one. This is not a big problem. After YouTube Live, toggle Hindi sample. Great toggle. Hindi was fine.
Sorry, chat
reselect
room.
YouTube. I can't believe you weren't watching them yell that they didn't hear me.
Well,
In
my first clue was when Frank said time for shadow puppets, but we thought we had solved the problem on Discord.
yeah, and they were showing the mime and everything.
Well,
It
the
was like,
mime was before. The mime was before the fix, but after no, it was. The mime was. Well,
so that
maybe
means
not.
they probably didn't hear any of Jeff Butts either. Oh well.
Correct. But Jeff's
But
not
we
here.
recovered and didn't fall over in a heap here.
Yes.
All right.
Maybe I need to have Discord always on so I can hear these things.
Sure. Good luck with that. Okay. I need to do this. Get a chapter mark. Well, Jeff Butts was great.
And what was his topic? Raspberry Pi?
Connecticut Raspberry Pi.
What is a Connecticut?
It's a Raspberry Pi.
It's a version of the Raspberry Pi?
Yeah. I'm just being silly. Here, I'm going to give you just the beginning of his voice just so you can hear how good he sounds. So he works for Dave Hamilton for the Mac Observer. So
okay.
I'll let you listen to this.
We lost you, Al. So we got the problem back. Here we go again. Interesting. So it's... Okay, I'm listening to Discord this time, so I'll know when you guys can't hear as well as the live show on podfeet.com. So, but I think we have a fix. Hey, Kevin, welcome back.
Ooh.
There, you're back. You're back on Mimo. Do I hear you on
Okay.
Discord?
Hang on.
I only hear you once.
Discord restarted. Or can you hear me in Discord now? No.
No.
Hang on. I can get that back quickly. 1 second.
She's working it, folks.
Okay.
Ooh, what was
Did
that?
you hear that? I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm back. Am
I
back
think
on
I hear
Discord?
you once. I think I don't hear you in Discord.
Not on Discord. Shoot, that fix didn't. It's the same.
Ooh, your voice is gone again. Right before it's Cylon, or right after it's Cylon. It's Cyloning right now. Something's going on. Are you hearing anything on Discord, folks? Nothing. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. On Mimo, on the live show, we're hearing a Cylon Allison. So her audio is going all over the place. I think we are working it.
Can you?
You're going in and out, Al. So it appears the solution that we had the first time is not doing the same thing. I hear you on Mimo. How about Discord, folks? Wait, Kevin says yes, they can. Oh, you can't. Okay. Wow. How about now? How about now?
Well, talk to me, Steve.
How about now?
Nope.
Can you hear me now?
do
I
not
hear
hear
you
Steve.
both places.
Why is that one? Hang on. I'm gonna talk to me one more time. I want to see if I can
Test.
hear you.
Test.
I can
1, 2,
hear you
3.
in Discord.
Okay.
Can you hear me in Discord?
Yes, I can. Both places.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. But it failed seconds later.
This is for the loopback, folks.
Yeah, how did I just get that back? Shoot. Can't hear in Mimo Live, but yes, in Discord. Holy cow. I don't know why I can't get you back, but I better keep recording. So everybody can hear
Yep.
me. Can they hear me in the video?
Yes.
Okay. So
I can.
just can't
So I've
hear
got
you.
both audios right now, and they're slightly delayed, so I can tell if
Okay.
one is missing. I only hear
can't
one.
hear you in I can see your sound moving in
So just turn on Discord sound.
that's what I just was
Oh,
trying
okay.
to tell you, but
Okay.
talked over me. So I can't hear you in Mimo Live, but I can hear you in Discord. So
It doesn't matter, right? As long as they can,
right.
and as long as both.
I can't mute you is the problem.
Okay, I'll be careful to not
Mute
talk.
yourself? Well, you
Yeah.
can mute yourself, right? Oh no, you can't mute yourself.
I can. I've got a mic mute.
Yeah, mute your mic. Buffer size.
Nice, Jason. We're hanging.
No joy. All right. Okay.
Okay,
I am
let's get back to the
gonna
show.
Start recording. Yeah. Okay. This one. Okay. All right. Well, what I was going to do is pay a little bit of Jeff Butts, but I think we better keep moving. All right. Okay, so mute your mic, please. I would like to make a statement. My husband, Steve, is a lunatic. Let me set the stage to explain what I just said. One of our marital battles is who will get to give the last Christmas present. I was sure I would get to go last because I had the best present. I bought him a new quadcopter. He's been using a 5-year-old giant DJI quadcopter that he'd Frankensteined a camera and a gimbal onto, and he'd crashed a few times. It was a great quadcopter, but he was hardly ever bringing it anywhere because it was gigantic. For Christmas, I got him the DJI Mavic Air 2. The Mavic Air 2 folds up to a tiny size. It's less than 7 by 4 by 3 inches. I mean, really, really small. It comes with a terrific display on the controller, and the gimbal on the quadcopter has incredible stabilization, so the built-in camera will take fantastic 4K video. Clearly, I should fight to give last, right? Because I was definitely going to win Christmas. I did not win the battle to give last. Steve did. And I did not win Christmas. Not even close. I gave him the quadcopter, and while he was thrilled, he was much more excited to give me my present. Steve told me to close my eyes and hold out my hands, so of course I held them absurdly close together, thinking maybe it was a big present because he would have just, handed it to me if it wasn't. When I opened my eyes, there was a huge white box in front of me, a white box with an Apple logo on it. This box contained an Apple Pro Display XDR. Now, in case the name is unfamiliar to you, this is the 32-inch 6K display that Apple introduced with the Mac Pro. Seriously, I could not believe he did this. He also bought me the stand so I wouldn't have to lay the display down on my desk, so that was nice. I'm going to do my best to give you an intelligent assessment of my observations about the Pro Display XDR, but I'm going to admit right here that I don't feel worthy to judge this display. I'd also like to say right here that I definitely did not need it. I already had a 27-inch LG 5K ultra-fine display that had a lovely screen, so I had no excuse to ask for the XDR. But I'm quite pleased that Steve felt that I deserved it. For the first few days, I didn't really get to play with it much because our kids were over and staying in my studio. We also couldn't stand the idea of not opening it, so we set the display up on the kitchen table. This was terrifying in itself because in the house at that time, we had 3 huge dogs, a 4-year-old, and 2 crawling infants, both of whom have an affinity for power cords. But we really wanted to play with it. The attachment mechanism for the display to the stand is a real feat of engineering. With the display tilted back, you match up the VESA mount circular piece on the stand to a matching circular hole in the back of the display. You tilt the display back until the top edges of the circle meet, and then you gently rotate it more towards vertical until it clicks into place. When you hear that click, a lock on the back of the display has engaged. To remove the display from the stand, you slide the lock and then reverse the process by tilting the display back and lifting it off. Once the display is locked in place, you can raise and lower the display. At its lowest, it doesn't go as low as it needs to. The top of the display above the desk goes from a high of 25.7 inches to a low of 21 inches. Now, ergonomics experts will tell you to have the top of the screen at eye level, but this display is 4.5 inches above my eye level, and I'm sitting in a chair Steve got me at a big and tall store. Now, I have a suspicion that Apple makes their decisions on display height based on the average American male. According to NASA's anthropometric dimensional data, the 50th percentile American male's eye height from seat is 3.1 inches higher than the 50th percentile American female. I gave you a link, of course, to NASA STD-3000, Volume 1, Section 3.3.1.3-1, if you'd like to go read up more on that. In any case, 3.1 inches higher for the typical American male than the typical American female. Now, at 5 feet 5 inches tall, I'm actually taller than the average American female. And what if you're a Japanese female? Their average height is 4'9". They would have to sit on a bar stool to see the top of this monitor without neck strain. I may just pen a letter to Tim Cook about this one. Anyway, I've pushed the display way back on my desk, and that helps with the angle for my neck, but I really could use those extra 3 inches of height that the boys have. I'm working out what kind of content I can fling up to the top to get it out of the way. Another issue with it being so tall is that my Logitech C920 webcam is now so high that I have to tilt it down to get me properly in the view, which means you can no longer see my mantle of toys during the live show. Now, Kevin will be very sad when he realizes the meat grinder won't be in view anymore, as will Jill about the cheese head she gave me. The good news about the height of the display is that it's at its highest level. I can easily use it when I'm standing because it rotates back a little bit too. I wish I was a fan of standing desks because it would be great for that. The XDR display has one really crazy thing it can do. If you unlock the lock I talked about earlier, you can actually rotate the display to portrait mode. So for the comedy, I connected my iPhone to my Mac, I opened QuickTime, and I chose new video recording and chose the phone as the camera. That's a trick that lets you put a phone screen onto your Mac display. The effect is that I have a giant 32-inch iPhone screen, and I, of course, put a photo of it in the show notes for the comedy. Okay, why is the whole rest of that? So everything just became a heading. Where is that computer? Why does that show as a...
It looks fine here.
That is...
Are you talking about the blog post, Al?
Yeah, there wasn't a line feed, and that messed up the...
It looked okay. I must have got an earlier version.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, gonna keep going. Okay, I guess I should quit goofing around and get serious about how awesome the Pro Display XDR is. It is pretty freaking awesome. Now, I won't be instructing you about the importance of P3 and color gamut and such things because I'm not an expert in screen technology. See my opening "I'm not worthy" statement if you doubt me. What I am, though, is a data nerd, so I decided to compare the specs of the Pro Display XDR to the 27-inch LG 5K ultrafine display I'd been using before. Took a little digging to find the comparative specs, and it took some math to actually do some of the calculations. The XDR looks huge, but how huge is it? How much bigger is it than the LG 5K? The XDR is advertised as a 32-inch diagonal display, while the LG is 27. But what do those 5 inches really mean? I got out my trusty pull-out rule and measured the width and height of the usable screen area. Knowing that both displays have a 16:9 aspect ratio, I was able to use the Pythagorean theorem to calculate the width and height of each display. Given those orthogonal dimensions, I could calculate the total screen area. After I spent some quality time with Pythagoras, I'd realized that I didn't need his dusty old theorem at all. There's a much easier way to calculate the width and height. According to their spec sheets, both of these displays have a pixel density of 218 pixels per inch. They also show their pixel width and pixel height in the specs. Simply dividing the pixel dimension by pixels per inch should give me a more accurate measurement of the screen width and height than my pull-out rule. Throughout all of this, I discovered something interesting. The Pro Display XDR is not 32 inches diagonally as advertised. With my pull-out rule, I measured it at 31.5 inches diagonally. That 0.5 inch difference was giving me the wrong results when I used my Pythagorean theorem process versus pixel density. When I adjusted the diagonal, they got a lot closer, at least within the accuracy of my pull-out rule. For thoroughness, I measured the LG, and it is exactly 27 inches. I thought maybe Apple always exaggerates the dimensions, so I asked Steve to measure his 27-inch iMac, and it's exactly 27 inches as well. You would think that for the price of the Pro Display XDR, they would give you the full 32 inches, wouldn't you? Well, as you may recall, our purpose here was to calculate the effective screen area of the two monitors to see, how big is it? If my ciphering is correct, as Jethro used to say in the Beverly Hillbillies, the 31.5-inch XDR display has 38% more screen real estate than the 27-inch LG. Isn't that crazy that 4.5 inches turns into 38% more area? That is the magic of geometry, folks. Well, this geometry exercise served an additional purpose as it answered a question for me. When we put the Pro Display XDR in its new home on my desk, I didn't feel blown away by the clarity of the text on the new display. We now know why. It's because the 27-inch LG 5K has the same pixel density. The Pro Display XDR sports 1,000 nits of screen brightness and could go to 1,600 nits peak. John Syracuse on the Accidental Tech podcast recently explained how that 1,600 nits peak comes into play. He said that in watching HDR video, the spec says you can measure the peak brightness as that which the display can provide across 10% of the screen. I haven't a clue how to verify that by my experience, but at least that's how I now understand how it's measured. At 1,000 nits, that's double the brightness of the LG 5K, which comes in at 500 nits. I love a bright screen because it causes my pupils to contract, which makes my depth of field deeper, which means I can see more clearly. Now, luckily, I'm not afflicted with light sensitivity, so brightness is pretty much always better for me. At supposedly double the brightness over the LG, I assumed I wouldn't be able to handle this display at its full brightness, but I do like it cranked all the way up. When I was fiddling with the brightness and system preferences, I noticed that there's a preset dropdown for this display. The default says Pro Display XDR P3-1600 nits. That's the default. Right below that is an option for Apple Display P3 500 nits. And with that preset at 100% brightness, it looks about the same to me. Now, it's a little hard to judge the brightness because the screen goes black in between these changes, even on the M1 Mac Mini. On M1s, usually you can switch display, you can switch display resolution and it happens instantly. But apparently these presets do more, so it actually goes black and comes back. So it's a little hard to say that the 500 nits and the 1,000 nits looks the same brightness, but it really seemed about the same. I had Steve look at it at the two different settings, and he couldn't see a change in brightness either. This makes me think maybe I misunderstand the presets and what full brightness really means. I wrote a message to John Syracuse about this because he often says, no one wants their 500 nit monitor at 100% brightness because it'll burn your eyeballs out. He says that all the time. I personally suspect that our light sensitivity is different, but he may know something about these settings, so I'm reserving judgment on that. There are 9 more presets available in the display's preferences, such as one for design and print, and also one for photography, internet and web, and another one for P3 HDR video. I tried looking at some Dolby Vision HDR10 video on Netflix via Safari with the display set to the normal P3 1600 nits and that P3 HDR video, and it looked good, but I don't know exactly what to look for. I heard John Syracuse talking again that those presets are for when you're doing work in that. So P3 HDR video, that's when you're editing P3 HDR video. That's why you would choose that preset. So maybe I shouldn't be choosing that to watch it. Not really sure, because if I changed to that setting, the screen was very dim as comparison to the 500 nit or 1000 nit settings. Finally, you can customize the presets by measuring the screen with one of those spider thingies, you stick to your monitor, and then you can store your own values as a preset. So if you're really into that stuff, you would love it. When we set up the Pro Display XDR in the kitchen, I spent a lot of time gazing with wonder at the holes on the back. They aren't just holes, they're a specifically designed structure that's part of the thermal control system for the display. Even if you're not a thermal design engineer, the aesthetics of the holes is gorgeous. I just like to look at them and wonder. I wish I could see the holes while seated at my desk, but sadly what I see is a giant, gorgeous screen with a tiny little 3/8-inch bezel around the edges. You really do get immersed in the screen, which I think is a good thing, but darn, those holes are pretty. I do have to say, I posted about this in our Slack, and someone said, I know who it was. It was Tim McCoy said, you should, and I wasn't in Slack, it was in our Facebook group. He said, take a picture of the holes and make it your desktop background, and then you could look at the holes. So I did exactly that. Anyway, so I have a nice looking desktop, and I can look at the holes whenever I want to now. Well, I want to back up a little bit and talk about the packaging for the Pro Display XDR and the stand. You would be correct in assuming that the box for the display was positively gigantic, and you would be right there with me trying to figure out how on earth Steve snuck this past me into the house. I think he could sneak a whole person in easier than he could these boxes. When we laid the box down flat for the display and opened it, there was a giant white peely on the face of the screen. The screen was embedded deep into the protective cardboard and for a split second, I wondered how I was going to get my fingers in between the display and the cardboard to get it out because there wasn't room. It's not like you could flip it over and bang on the back of it to get it to slide out, right? Well, after that split second, I noticed that the cardboard areas on each side had arrows pointing outwards. These areas, it turns out they're hinged boxes, so you rotate them outwards, and now you have plenty of room to gently pull out the display. This is the kind of genius Apple uses in its packaging. If you're ever in trouble opening anything from Apple, sit back and look carefully. There's probably an easier way. But it was actually the packaging of the stand that was in some ways even more interesting to me. The stand comes in a tall square box, and when you open it, there's a lovely woven cloth handle over this interior square that you're going to pull out. It was that interior square piece that surprised me. It was basically a box structure with really thick cardboard to make impact-resistant pockets to protect the stand. That seems reasonable, but it was the thickness and weight of this that was extraordinary. I weighed this one piece of the box. This is just the top piece that you pull up and out of the box. It weighed 3.5 pounds by itself. That doesn't count the equivalent bottom piece or the exterior of the box. The entire package, just for the stand, weighed 9.1 pounds. The stand itself weighs 9.5 pounds, so that's some pretty serious packaging, weight ratio there. It's a good thing they did make it this sturdy because the delivery people sadly dented the corner of the box. But you know what? It had zero impact on the stand. Now, surprisingly, the display box wasn't nearly as proportionally beefy, coming in at 12.8 pounds for the display that weighs 16.5 pounds. Luckily, that one came through completely unscathed. While I was delighted that my products were so well protected in their beefy and heavy boxes, I wondered about the amount of waste they created. For another reason I'll get into in a minute, I researched the Pro Display XDR Environmental Impact Report. And of course, there's a link in the show notes. In that report, there's a specific section on the packaging, and it explains that 93% of the packaging is fiber-based. 66% of the fiber content in the package is recycled. And 100% of the virgin wood fiber, which I assume means the new stuff, not the recycled fiber, comes from responsibly managed forests. That made me feel a lot better about the packaging, which we will now keep in our attic for the next 20 plus years. The description of the virgin wood fiber coming from responsibly managed forests had a footnote 8 on it, and I followed that link to Apple's sustainable fiber specification. In that spec, I learned that Apple considers bamboo a fiber. I did not realize that was a contentious argument, but apparently it is because they had to say it. And they list the councils and certifications they require for suppliers to follow in order to provide materials for the box that brought my precious to me. If you're into understanding these things, it's pretty interesting documentation. Of course, there's a link to that in the show notes. The main reason I went hunting for the environmental impact report on the Pro Display XDR was that I wanted to know just how much more energy this monitor would be consuming versus the LG 5K display I'd been using. I was shocked by what I discovered. The LG 27-inch 5K display draws 140 watts, while the Pro Display XDR only draws 105 watts, and that's when you're in the 1000 nits XDR brightness setting. That means the XDR draws only 75% of the power for a display that's twice as bright with 38% more pixels. Now, if I want to be a really good citizen of Earth, I can turn it down to the SDR 500 nit brightness setting, and it only draws 37 watts, or 26% of what the LG draws. I know Apple likes to brag about their work to reduce the environmental impact of their products. You know what? This spec says they deserve to brag a little bit. When the Pro Display XDR was first introduced, I assumed it could only be driven by the Mac Pro. It was in listening to the Accidental Tech podcast that I first learned that a lot of Macs can drive this display, including the 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro I use as my daily driver. I have to say, works great with it. The Pro Display XDR also works with the 2018 15-inch MacBook Pro, the 4-port Thunderbolt 3 13-inch Intel MacBook Pro, and the 2020 MacBook Air and the 2019 27-inch iMac, and of course all of the M1 Mac models. I just realized on the 13-inch, I didn't say that's the 2019 13-inch MacBook Pro with the 4 ports. That was another side benefit of me getting the Pro Display XDR, because Steve was able to retire. Okay, I mumbled that. Gonna hit save there. There was another side benefit to me getting the Pro Display XDR. Steve was able to retire his 1080p 27-inch Apple Thunderbolt display that he'd been using since 2012, and he was able to replace it with my LG 5K display. Now, while I'm in the lap of luxury with a 6K display now, Steve actually has 10K worth of displays since he hooked up the LG to his 27-inch 5K iMac. So I don't want to hear any whining about poor Steve. We put the LG in place and he's delighted with it. Even though the bezels don't match between the two displays, he's willing to suffer through it. Steve and I ran a test of the live show setup to make sure the 6K display driven by my laptop and his iMac driving 2 5K displays wouldn't be brought to their knees by all of the video processing that goes on for the show. The biggest part of the video load goes to Steve's iMac, so we were a little bit worried. He did see his processors crank up to 90%, but that left just enough headroom for smooth video and audio in our testing. I'm sure it'll fall over in a heap when we do the next live show, but at least that'll entertain the live listeners. Actually, I gotta take that sentence out. I expected that it would fall over in a heap when we did the real live show, but I'm recording that right now, and for right now, it's still working. Fingers crossed. Well, I still can't believe Steve bought me this display, but I'm really glad he did. I suspect that Steve really just wanted the LG 5K display, so if you think about it, I actually did give him the last gift. Ha. Oh. There.
Well, we have a tragedy here in the chat room. Emoji has been disabled somehow. Discord it's weird. You can put them in and they last for a second or two, sometimes 10 seconds, and you can pile on occasionally, and then they go away.
Oh, wow.
So we're emojiless in the chat room.
It looks like you guys have been chatty. 154 messages while I did that.
Yeah, most of it's about emoji.
All right, I'm going to do a quick spam here. I'm going to do a support the show, and I will be almost done here. You may have noticed that this show is not supported by advertising. You don't have to wade through 2 minutes of talking about what ads will be in the show before you even get to the real content, and then the plot doesn't get interrupted by an ad in the middle either. I do take a quick minute to suggest that to keep the show ad-free, it would be swell if you showed your support financially. This week, both Laura and Ralph donated through PayPal at podfeed.com/PayPal to show their appreciation for what they learn here. They both said very nice things in their email, especially about the contributions Steve makes to the shows. And I have to say, That means even more than the financial support. But I'm keeping the money, so don't worry about that. If you want to be swell like Laura and Ralph, consider making a donation to support the show. 38 seconds. Ooh, Rose says she's still got emoji.
So you can put them in the post, but you just can't reply or respond to a post with an emoji.
Huh?
You know, you can react to a post with an emoji. Maybe you've never done that. You know, like a thumbs up or a smiley face or a...
Okay.
A reaction to a post is not working.
You probably have control over this.
Well, I looked and I don't. There is no special control I have to enable or disable that. That's the first thing I thought of. I think Discord is having some issues tonight. I'm also noticing a bit of a lag when I type in Discord. Like maybe its servers are having a problem.
I bet you have a...
I can block and ban and kick and do all sorts of things, but I can't turn on and off emoji for individuals. In fact, I'm not sure I can do it for the whole group.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
What would have caused that?
I don't know. This is unusual.
Well, it sounds like a critical issue to me. All right. Let me line these two up.
So Mike has found something in Stack Overflow. Let's see.
Mike is so resourceful. Split like that, all of them? No. Why can't I split all of them? Oh, I don't
Restarting the client okay, I'm going to restart and see if that changes something.
But that
Discord
would only change it for you.
Well, but it may be
Nobody
a
can do
solution
it.
everyone has to do. Let me just see.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I know, but I'm going to try it.
I'm not leaving. I'm going to talk about Steve while he's gone.
Well, I'm back.
Oh. Let's quit.
So I'm going to try I'm going to do a like on Jill's post. A little thumbs up here. See if it sticks. Okay, there it is. Let's see how long that stays.
I don't see it.
Oh, you don't see it. Oh, and it went away.
I never saw it.
Yeah, I saw it for a little bit, but it's just for the user who puts it in that you see it. Yeah, it never showed up for everyone else. Interesting. We have a Discord issue.
Well, it's not my fault. There. Can I do that? Nope.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
at least we kept your audio for 80% of the show.
Oh, wow. Hey, guess what?
It's 6:07, by the way.
I know. That's...
Are we done?
No. Would you,
Oh, we're not?
Would you stop screwing around? Okay, let me listen. No talking. The show.
Okay. All right.
No talking means no talking. Well, it's that time of the week. Is that too quick? A little quick.
A little quick.
You weren't
Just a
listening,
touch.
were you?
That's going to be late.
Would you stop timer? Well, it's that too late.
Yep.
All right, a little back somewhere.
Quarter second. That's too much.
Well, it's that time of the week. You
Too
get it
much.
Perfect. Oh, jeez.
Bring it back.
It's very hard to move just a little tiny bit.
You want me to come in there?
Well, it's that time of the week.
There you
get
go.
Perfect.
Nailed it.
All right, so I guess I'm not going to get to talk about my diagram.
No. It's
Stay
6:08
patched, so you stay secure.
How did it get so late?
because we
A
had an
lot of
audio
recording.
issue.
I had a lot of recording to do. Okay, stop
a lot
talking
of-
so I can record. Shh. Okay. Well, that's going to wind things up for this week. Don't forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at podfeet. Remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. Want to become a patron? Go to podfeet.com/Patreon. Want to be cool like Laura and Ralph and do a PayPal donation? Podfeet.com/PayPal. Want to join our Facebook group like Tim McCoy, where he gave me that great suggestion about my desktop background? Podfeet.com/Facebook. Want to join our Slack where we have lots of fun go on over to podfeet.com/Slack. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show like Kevin did for the very first time, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. So I just
Now that's
said
going to
Kevin.
sound like Wingman is joined us for the first time.
I know. Do I need to re-record that?
It's up to you.
Want to join our Slack where we have lots of fun? Go on over to... And if you want to... Fine. I flinched for a second and wanted to make sure his last name was Jones. Okay, stop
You got
making
it.
noise, please. Shh. And if you want to join the fun of the live show, like Kevin Jones did for the very first time, which caused a lot of confusion because we got Kevin in there and we had to decide he's OG Kevin now. It's been very exciting. Anyway, if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Is that better?
Yeah, that was better.
What?
No, that was good.
Jeez.
Acceptable.
We are family. Let me see. Hey, stay subscribed. All right, there we go. Oh, Jason can do it? Oh, yeah.
Jason
Hang
can do
on.
what?
Jason can add do you see the clock going around that wheels put?
Yeah.
Jason
Yeah.
put a thumbs up on it. And he
Yeah,
put a clap
and it's
here.
sticking. Okay, well, let's see
Jason,
if we
what
can...
did you do? How did you take control?
Okay, I'm going to see if I can put one on Jason's, see if like Discord just fixed itself or Jason has the magic touch. All right, let's, I got it. There are
It's
too
fixed.
many. Yeah, they're sticking now. Okay, Discord just got his panties in a bunch and they straightened them out. That's what it is.
I love it when I hear people.
Now now the emoji flood is coming. It's like this pent up emoji demand has now been released, and people are emojiing all over the place.
It was really bothering you guys, wasn't it? Oh man,
It is amazing how-
that's quite an emoji. Jeff, look at that.
Yeah,
What is that?
Let me play that. Ooh,
I didn't have to hit play.
Jill.
What is that? I've never seen a smooth GIF. Wait, I have my new favorite GIF. I want to do one. Let's see. This is my new favorite GIF. Might be too big. Kevin called Sienna the Grand Winglet.
She is something else. Kind of expressive, that kid.
I love her. I can't wait to hear her talk because she's going to be funny. I mean, she is.
Yeah, she'll have a few things to say, I'm sure.
Yep. And I made it
All right,
only
we hold-
loop 5 times.
We hold class to 6:12 p.m.
All right,
here.
you want to go? Are you hungry or something, Steve?
Well, I need to get the chicken going.
I hope you started the barbecue.
I did.
All right. There's all the emoji. Oh, that's a good one, Jason. I like it. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for staying. I wish you could have stayed and played with my diagram, but I understand if you guys got to get going. Talk to you guys next week. Happy New Year. Mwah. Bye, Rose. Knock us out, Steve.
All right.